Kate fell to her knees. Her eyes were full of pain. Her hands shook as she reached out to Kofi. "You don't understand," she said softly. "It's not us. We're only servants. The curse, the deaths, it all comes from her." "Who?" Kofi asked. Kate looked toward the river. Her voice dropped to a whisper. "Ashoka, the river goddess. She lives deep under the water."
Long ago, in the quiet village of Oziri, life was sweet like ripe mango. The sun always smiled on their farms. Their palm trees were full, their rivers gave them fish, and their market days were full of joy. The women would dance, the men would laugh, and the children would chase each other around the market square. But one day, everything changed. It began after a big market day. A young girl named Chimaka, beautiful and full of life, was found dead in her sleep. Her eyes were wide open, her lips were pale, her fingers were cold. People cried, her mother screamed, "She was fine last night, what happened?" Then someone noticed something strange. Chimaka was wearing a new necklace, a shiny pearl necklace with a small black stone in the middle. No one in Oziri had seen that kind of necklace before. They buried her with tears and confusion, and life went on. But the next market day, it happened again. Another girl, another necklace, another death in her sleep. Then another, and another. By the fourth market day, 7 girls had died. All of them young. All of them were the same type of necklace. The people of Oziri were afraid. The village square became quiet. Women stopped going out at night. Children were told to stay away from the river. The elders called a meeting. Some blamed witchcraft. Others whispered, "It's the gods. Maybe we offended them." An old woman with gray eyes said, "No, this is the work of something not human." But no one had answers, and no one knew where the necklaces came from. Every market day, strangers came to sell. There were 2 young women, very beautiful, very soft-spoken. They would appear at the market, sell shiny things, and leave before the cock crowed. No one knew their names. No one knew where they came from, and no one saw where they went after the market. But Kofi, a poor hunter who lived near the river, he began to watch closely. He did not talk much, but he listened, and he saw things others didn't. One night, while sharpening his knife, he whispered to himself, "Something is not right in this village. I smell it in the air, I feel it in the ground, and I see it in the river." He looked up at the moon, then back at the water, and deep inside the river, something moved. Something strange. Watching. The next market day came like every other. Drums were beating, people were laughing, traders shouted their prices. "Come and buy your fresh palm oil! Fat fish, come and buy, oh!" But then they came. 2 strange young women. No one had ever seen them before. One was fair like the morning sun. Her hair was long and soft, like river silk. That was Kate. The other was dark and glowing, with eyes that shined like burning fire. That was Linda. They wore elegant white gowns that danced in the wind. Their hands sparkled with gold bracelets. Their feet didn't make a sound as they walked. "Who are they?" someone whispered. "They are too beautiful," another said. "They must be from the big towns," a woman guessed. Kate and Linda didn't speak much. They only smiled, soft and gentle, like they were hiding something. From a small black bag, they brought out shiny necklaces, long, beautiful, glowing like stars. "Buy one," Kate said sweetly. "It brings peace. It brings beauty." "How much?" a young girl asked. Only 2 coins, Linda smiled. 2 coins? The villagers were shocked. How can something so beautiful be so cheap? Women rushed to buy. Young girls begged their mothers. But one woman, Mama Ifeoma, pulled her daughter back. "Don't touch that thing," she warned. "It smells like river magic." Her daughter Ifeoma frowned. "Mama, it's just necklace. You worry too much." But Mama Ifeoma stood firm. "Not in my house. That thing will not enter my compound." Kate and Linda smiled gently and walked away saying nothing. But later that day, Ifeoma sneaked out. She used her own coins to buy a necklace. She wore it around her neck, turning in front of the mirror. She looked so beautiful, like a queen, like a goddess. That night, she slept with the necklace on. But by morning, Ifeoma did not wake up. Her skin was cold, her lips were blue, and her eyes still open. Mama Ifeoma screamed. The whole village gathered. The charm sellers were gone. No one saw where they went, and no one saw them leave.
That night, while the village of Oziri slept, an old man sat in his small hut, grinding herbs under a dim oil lamp. His name was Papa Dogo, the village herbalist. He was not rich, he was not strong, but people feared and respected him. They said he could hear spirits. They said he could smell death in the wind. As he worked, his eyes began to feel heavy. He closed them just for a moment, and then he was no longer in his hut. He was standing in the middle of the river, but the water was red like blood. The sky was dark, and the moon was gone. He saw beautiful women swimming in circles. They laughed, they sang, but their songs were not sweet. Their songs were sad and cold like crying wind. One by one, the women turned to him. Their faces were soft, but their eyes were black, and in their hands they held the same shiny pearl necklaces with the black stone. They pointed at him and whispered, "We are coming." Papa Dogo jumped up from his mat, sweating and shaking. His heart beat fast like drum. "This is not just dream," he muttered. "This is a message, a warning." By morning, he went straight to the one man he trusted, Kofi. He found him sharpening his hunting knife under a tree. "Kofi," he said, breathing hard, "you must listen to me well." Kofi looked up. "What happened?" "I saw them, in the river, in my dream." Kofi raised an eyebrow. "Mermaids. Women who wear beauty like cloth, but behind their faces is death." Kofi said nothing, but his eyes narrowed. Then Papa Dogo touched his shoulder and whispered, "Watch the market women. Watch those who sell the shiny things. Their charm is not from this world." Kofi nodded slowly. Later that day, he went into his small hut and brought out something he kept hidden in a clay pot. It was a small necklace, broken, but still glowing faintly. He had taken it from one of the dead girls before burial. He looked at it closely for the first time. The black stone in the center. It looked like a teardrop, but when he held it up to the light, he saw something moving inside, something that looked like a strange face.
It was a cold, quiet night in Oziri. The wind whispered through the trees. The moon hung high, round and bright. Even the crickets were silent, like they were afraid of something. Kofi had just finished hunting in the forest. A fat bush rat swung from his bag. His legs were tired. His mouth was dry.
He walked slowly toward the river to drink. The water flowed gently, soft, calm, too calm. Kofi bent down and scooped water with his hand, but just before the water touched his lips, he heard laughter. Not normal laughter. It was soft, sweet, almost like singing. He froze. He turned his head slowly and hid behind a large tree near the riverbank. And then he saw them, Kate and Linda. But they were not wearing clothes. Their tails shimmered in the moonlight, long and silver, like the skin of fresh fish. Their hair floated in the air like mist. Mermaids. They were laughing and dancing in the shallow part of the river. Between them, on a smooth flat rock, was a small glowing silver stone. Linda picked it up and held it tight. The stone shined bright. In seconds, their tails disappeared. Their legs appeared. Their bodies turned into young women, beautiful, soft, and perfect. They wrapped white cloth around themselves and stepped out of the water. "Let's go," Kate whispered. "The market will soon start." "We must return before dawn," Linda said. "Ashoka doesn't like delays." They walked toward the village path, but they didn't take the silver stone. They left it behind, glowing quietly on the rock. Kofi's heart beat fast. He waited, and when they were far, he tiptoed out of the bush like a lizard. Step by step, slow and quiet, he picked up the silver stone. It was warm. It hummed in his hand like a sleeping bee. He looked around. No one. He dropped it inside his hunting bag and covered it with dry leaves. Then he looked into the river and whispered, "Now let's see who you really are."
The cock crowed. The first light of morning touched the trees. Birds began to sing softly. Fires were lit in kitchen huts. Oziri was waking up. But at the riverbank, two women stood shivering in fear. Kate and Linda had just returned from the village. They moved quickly, their white wrappers still neat. Their hands carried an empty basket. They looked around. The river flowed gently, but something was wrong. The silver stone was gone. "Where is it?" Linda shouted. She dropped her basket and searched the rocks. She kicked the sand. She turned over every leaf, but nothing. "It was here!" she cried. "It was here!" Kate fell to her knees, breathing hard. "The sun is rising," she whispered. "We don't have much time." Almost like a child's. "Please," she said, "we need that stone. Without it, we are trapped here, forever." Kofi looked at them both. Then he spoke slowly. "Too many girls have died. Many mothers have cried. You come here, sell death, and vanish like smoke." Kate bowed her head. But Linda growled. "You don't know who we serve. You don't know what she will do." Kofi stepped forward. "I don't care," he said. "Here is my word." He held up the silver stone high. "Break the curse, stop killing, or stay in this world forever." The wind blew hard. The river splashed. Kate looked at Linda. Linda looked at Kofi. And somewhere beneath the river, something ancient began to wake.
Kate fell to her knees. Her eyes were full of pain. Her hands shook as she reached out to Kofi. "You don't understand," she said softly. "It's not us. We're only servants. The curse, the deaths, it all comes from her." "Who?" Kofi asked. Kate looked toward the river. Her voice dropped to a whisper. "Ashoka, the river goddess. She lives deep under the water." Kofi's eyes narrowed. "I've heard stories," he said. "They say she takes souls." Kate nodded slowly. "It's true. She is powerful. She is hungry. She feeds on the souls of young women. The necklaces carry her mark. When someone wears it to sleep, their soul leaves their body and swims to her forever." Kofi clenched his fist. "And you helped her?" Kate looked away. "She made us do it," she said. "She gave us beauty, power, long life, but we must bring her souls every market day. If we refuse, she will destroy us." Linda stood in silence. Her face was tight and angry. "She hears us," Linda muttered. "We've said too much." Suddenly, Linda dropped to her knees, coughing hard. But it was not just air. Water came out of her mouth, cold, clear. It splashed on the ground like tears. Her eyes turned white for a second. "Linda!" Kate shouted. Linda held her chest. Her voice was deep now, almost not hers. "She is watching," she said. "She is angry." The wind changed. The river made a loud sound, like something big moving beneath. The birds in the trees flew away. Even the frogs went silent. Kofi looked at the water. A soft ripple danced across the surface, like fingers, brushing gently. "She knows we're trying to stop her," Kate whispered, "and she won't let us go so easily." Kofi looked at the silver stone in his hand. He had power now, but was it enough to face a goddess?
That night, the moon was full and round. The wind was soft. The river was quiet. Kofi was fast asleep inside his small hut, snoring softly beside the fire. The silver stone was hidden deep in his hunting bag, right beside his mat. Kate sat outside, watching the stars. Her heart was heavy. She had not slept in days. Her mind was full of fear, and her body felt weak. She looked at the river and whispered, "Why did you make us monsters, Ashoka?" Suddenly, she heard a sound, a soft footstep behind the hut. She stood quickly and moved like a cat through the shadows. Then she saw her, Linda, moving slowly, her eyes glowing in the dark. She crept toward the door of Kofi's hut, her hands stretched out, reaching for the hunting bag. Kate's eyes widened. "Linda!" she shouted. Linda jumped. Kofi turned in his sleep, but didn't wake up. "Give me the stone," Linda hissed. "No," Kate said. "Don't do this." Linda's voice was sharp like broken glass. "We can't stay in this world forever. Give it to me now." Kate blocked her path. The two women stood face to face. "Go back," Kate said. "We can stop this. We can end the curse." Linda's eyes burned with rage. "Fool, you think Ashoka will let us go? She will destroy us all." Then she attacked. She pushed Kate hard. They fell to the ground, rolling, scratching, pulling. Kate grabbed Linda's arm, but Linda was strong, angry, afraid. She kicked Kate to the side and ran, straight to the river. "Linda, stop!" Kate cried. But Linda didn't look back. She dove into the water with a loud splash. The river shook. The trees bent. And then, silence. Kate stood there, breathing hard, wet, bruised, and broken. She walked slowly back to the fire and sat down.
Kofi woke up and rubbed his eyes. "What happened?" he asked. Kate looked into the flames and said softly, "Linda is gone." "Gone where?" Kate looked at the river. "To warn Ashoka." Then she turned to Kofi, her voice shaking. "I'm tired of serving her. I want peace, even if it means I die." Kofi said nothing, but his eyes stared deep into the fire, like a man preparing for war.
The next morning, Ozuri was no longer quiet. 2 more girls were found dead in their sleep. One was just 16. The other was about to be married. Their mothers screamed. Their fathers tore their wrappers and beat the ground with their fists. It was the 8th and 9th death in just a few market days. The people were no longer afraid. They were angry. Whispers turned into loud talks. Talks became shouts. And soon, the whole village was pointing fingers. It started when those strangers came. Yes, the charm sellers. But who still sees them? Where did they go? Then someone shouted, "Kofi knows something." People turned. "His hut is near the river. He walks at night. He's always watching." Another voice rose. "Let's go and ask him." The angry crowd moved as one. Men picked up sticks. Women carried palm branches. Children followed behind, barefoot and wide-eyed. They marched through the bush path to Kofi's hut. Inside, Kofi sat sharpening his blade. Kate stood by the doorway, staring at the river. Suddenly, the noise came. Voices, footsteps. The villagers were coming fast. Kate's heart began to race. Kofi stood up calmly, but before anyone could speak, Kate stepped forward. "Wait," she shouted. "Please." The crowd stopped. They stared at her, this strange, beautiful woman they didn't trust. Kate raised her hands. "I know what's happening. I know why your daughters are dying, and I promise you—" She paused, her eyes filled with tears. "I want it to stop." Someone in the crowd shouted, "You are the one who brings the necklaces." "Yes," Kate said quietly. "I was sent to do evil, but not anymore." She looked at the sky. "I lost my sister to this curse, and now I stand with Kofi to end it." The crowd murmured. Some looked confused. Others still burned with anger. Kate knelt down and said, "Give me a little time, just a little. Let me face Ashoka and break this curse." A small boy stepped forward. His sister was one of the dead. He looked at Kate and asked, "Will the river stop crying?" Kate nodded. "If I fail, you can do anything you want to me." Kofi stood behind her, holding the silver stone, and deep inside the river, the water began to boil.
That night, Oziri did not sleep. The air felt heavy. The moon hid behind the clouds, and the river made a sound no one had heard before. It growled. Not like water flowing, not like fish splashing. It sounded like something big, breathing. Kate sat outside Kofi's hut, her eyes fixed on the river. Kofi stood behind her, holding his silver stone tightly. Then, boom! A loud sound shook the ground. The river rose higher and higher. It spilled over its banks like angry soup in a hot pot. Water rushed into the village. It swept through the farms, pulling down cassava stems and uprooting yam mounds. Palm fruits floated like boats. Goats cried out, their feet splashing in the water. People ran out of their huts, shouting, holding their children. What is happening? Is it a flood? No, it's her! It's her! Then the wind stopped. The trees stood still. And from the heart of the river, a voice rose, a loud woman's voice, deep, echoing, full of power. "Return what is mine!" The villagers froze.
Some fell to the ground. Some covered their ears. Even the babies stopped crying. Kate held her chest. "She's awake," she whispered. "Ashoka is here." Suddenly, a strange thing happened. At the far end of the village, where the graveyard rested quietly in the bush, the ground began to shake. A soft hand broke through the red sand. Then a head. Then a full body. It was Ifeoma, the girl who had died after wearing the necklace. Her white burial cloth was still wrapped around her. But her eyes were open. She walked slowly, dripping wet, toward the river. People screamed and ran, but Ifeoma said nothing. When she reached the edge of the water, she turned her head slightly, as if listening to a voice no one else could hear. Then she stepped in. The water opened and swallowed her like she was never there. The river went quiet. The farms stayed flooded. And in the silence, the voice whispered again, "You have only one night."
The night was dark. The river was still. Not even the frogs were croaking. Inside Kofi's hut, the fire burned low. Kate sat by the door, her arms wrapped around her knees. Kofi stood at the center, staring at the glowing silver stone in his hand. Then, a sound came from the trees. Footsteps. Slow. Heavy. Wet. Kate stood up quickly. Kofi grabbed his hunting knife. Then, she appeared. "You betrayed your queen mother." She raised her hand. Water rose from the ground, spinning around her like a snake. The wind howled. The fire went out. Kate screamed as she fell back. Linda stepped closer, slow, steady, and full of power. Kofi stepped in front of Kate. He raised the silver stone. Its light grew brighter, brighter than the moon, brighter than fire. Then, silence. In Kofi's mind, he heard a voice, Ashoka's voice. "Destroy the stone, and I will go back to sleep. Keep it, and face my wrath." Kofi looked down at the stone. He could crush it now. End everything. No more necklaces. No more death. No more Ashoka. But if he did, Kate would remain trapped, and Ashoka might return again, stronger than before. Kofi's heart beat loud. Boom!